Now let's explain our make request method. In case you were wondering, this T here represents a generic function. Here, we almost always declare it to be a string to represent a JSON string. You can also represent it to be something else, such as an integer. Now, we create a new REST template, which we will then use to essentially map that response, which is almost always a JSON string, into a response wrapper. But first, we'll just wrap it in a response entity, and here we are. That just explained exactly. So let's look at that response. So this is still not serialized. This is just a JSON string of the object we received from SpaceX API, the capsule route here. We did ask for it to be a JSON string, which was inside the HTTP headers, which we set in our API bindings. And here's the return class string, which just represents a JSON string. And now we want to go ahead and create a new response wrapper and then set that response inside that wrapper. This is just to catch an error. So we are ready to go ahead and look inside what's inside this response wrapper. So this is where we store the response from our request from our REST template. We store it as a string here. Then we call this function when we want it to essentially map it using json right here. This is the class we want it to be set as. So let's take a look inside. First, we're going to parse that string, that response string, into a JSON node. That JSON node is going to return us an array node. It's telling us that there's an array of these object nodes here. That is the response from the SpaceX. So then we're going to convert that JSON node into a list of JSON nodes. I didn't show you, but this is the process here. Essentially, we just literally map out the JSON nodes. Then we go ahead and convert those list of JSON nodes into our class that we want. So you'll see after this breakpoint, you will see a list of SpaceX custom classes, which will show up right here. And here's your list of SpaceX capsules into our own object. So we will now see that it returns a list of SpaceX capsules.